On December 26th of 2018, the story would continue with Waking Nightmare. But before we get to the book itself, let's just admire the cover. It's so good. We start off our story with the nightmare, with Nicky running through a wet and muddy forest. He has endured the pain of thorns slicing his legs while some unknown entity chases him. He manages to make it to one of the Ferris wheel carts, which gives him a good view of the Golden Apple amusement park when it was still in business for that one day. However, his cart turns into a shopping cart, with the park going back to its abandoned state after Lucy Yee's death. Now, these nightmare sequences have very weird wording, so take what I say for granted because I could just be media illiterate or something. But there's a golden apple bracelet poking from the ground. Nicky tries to grab the bracelet, but it's firmly stuck into the ground as something similar to a root is tying it down. But it's not a root. A pale figure charges at him. Nicky wakes up in the Golden Apple amusement park. Which apparently was due to him sleepwalking from his house to the park. Sure. It's been 4 months since the events of the last book. Since then, a major company called EarthPro has been interested in buying the Golden Apple land property, in hopes to build a mall and just fuck over small businesses, with a town meeting being held soon to determine what will be done with the Golden Apple property. Oh yeah, and Aaron and Maya are just straight up missing, although Mr. Peterson states that they went to their aunt's house, who, if you remember, was Lisa Peterson. Despite Aaron's absence, Nicky's not alone, as he's become really good friends with Enzo, Trinity, and Maritza. We get to hear more about Enzo, as he's now pursuing his basketball dreams, which he's purely doing just to get away from the discourse over the whole Peterson and Golden Apple situation. He also tries to hang out around a group of jocks, Seth and Ruben, but his presence is the equivalent of adding an OC to a show. Nicky, on the other hand, can only think of Aaron and Maya, constantly wondering what happened to them, and the meaning of the clues that they left behind. And finally, Maritza. As we know, she was friends with Maya and Lucy, with them being in the Young Inventors Club. But you know, since both of them are like dead, she hangs around with her bigger brother and the rest of his friend group. After a group walk home, we get probably one of my favorite scenes, where Nicky's parents interrogate him and it does this cool thing with the fonts and stuff. Pretty cool. Although we also hear the parents argue about Jay's job, since his friend and boss, that being Enzo's dad, wants him to write a story that actively goes against Mr. Peterson, so that EarthPro wins in the public eye, since, you know, they're both like rich and capitalism, I don't know. Jay's in a tough situation, since he doesn't fully believe that Mr. Peterson is this terrible person, but going against the head of the banner could risk his job. So we're given like so much information at the beginning of the book, which doesn't help since this is the shortest book in the trilogy, and it's kind of just generic exposition dumping, but at least we know where the story is going, unlike, you know, missing pieces where like shit was just happening. The parents go to some science fundraiser thing where the head of EarthPro will visit. Before going, Jay's being the funny guy that he is, but expresses his concerns to Nicky about the Petersons, even knowing his son's continuous spying on them. And so when Jay leaves, Nicky actually doesn't go back to spying. Instead, he breaks into the factory, which is now blocked off with a chain-linked fence. He makes his way through some tarp coverings and eventually into a weird room with many drawings, depicting wacky theme park rides with somewhat haunted-looking people. However, a storm starts to pick up, and a figure standing right next to Nicky. Now, it's just a mannequin, but it still scares Nicky enough to get the hell out of there. That night, we are reintroduced to the nightmares, where Nicky's stuck on some wacky ride with a wacky mannequin. Eventually he gets free, however he gets launched into a pit of endless mannequins. After waking up, he notices a bunch of trees and leaves on his body, even though he was clean before he slept last night. In another room, Jay is arguing about putting Mr. Peterson on blast to his boss, but he eventually has to give in to his job. Enzo's dad is pretty pushy about his agenda, since he has a very close relationship with Miss Yee, as they resonate over their shared loss. Obviously, Miss Yee lost her daughter, however we found out that her husband fled to Canada out of grief. And as for Mr. Esposito, we get clarity about how his wife died to cancer, which is something they completely forgot about in the show. We get a surprising amount of characterization from Jay, like his reasons for becoming a journalist and how media is presented. And so far, he's becoming my favorite character. Now, right before the chapter ends, we get back to the mystery of Nicky's apparent sleepwalking, where he goes digging at the amusement park or something. It's stupid. Why is he sleepwalking? This is fucking dumb. Nicky sneaks out, again, to the amusement park to look for some more evidence. In a turn of events, Maritza is also there. She vents to him about the constant trauma that this place brought to her, and the obviously fake lie that Mr. Peterson's kids are just safely away. But it seems that this is the hotspot of Ravenbrooks now, as Mr. Peterson appears and rummages around the park, while the two try to hide. Mr. Peterson gathers a bunch of weird wires and gadgets, as he argues with himself since he can't do some calculations or something, I don't know, eventually blaming something unknown for cursing him. However, Nicky has a bazinga moment, which accidentally alerts Mr. Peterson, where he just begins to mentally lose it. The two kids get the fuck out of there into the neighborhood. He makes it in time to greet his parents when they come over, but gets paranoid about Mr. Peterson appearing again. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this trilogy has a tendency to have a really slow start. However, judging by last book, things do pick up at some point, so let's hope it's soon. At school, Nicky and Maritza, with the help of Trinity, info dump the past day onto Enzo, who, without context, is rightfully taken aback by this with a pretty sour attitude, as he's very pushy about them wandering into the theme park alone. Although even when he calms down, he's still skeptical, eventually leaving with Seth and Ruben. The now three then go to Nicky's house, where he shows them a binder of an extremely detailed weekly schedule of Mr. Peterson, with everything he does being documented. Although the two are a bit disturbed by Nicky because he's spying a middle-aged man, they still believe him, but they don't have any good evidence. That's when Nicky pulls out the golden apple bracelet that he got a while back, which turns out to have been from Lucy. The two are immediately put off while Nicky tries to explain himself. However, this still gets somewhere, and after some thinking, they come up with a plan, which has to do with Miss Tillman, as during the funeral service, she was talking to Lisa Peterson, who is supposedly in custody of Aaron and Maya, so Maritza and Trinity will go to her for questions, while Nicky gets dragged to some party, where he will try to get Enzo to turn against Earth Pro. Nicky is in a bit of a rough situation, since he has to convince Endo to side against Earth Pro and the whole Peterson scheme, while he only wants to personally hate on Mr. Peterson. While Trinity only cares about anti-Earth Pro, while Jay cares about not bashing Mr. Peterson. It's this whole thing. The two boys meet up and have some fun, friendly shenanigans. But like he always does, Nicky has to ruin it, as he horribly exposition dumps all this information onto Enzo. Here's the thing, I've been watching Mr. Peterson a lot, and he knows something about Aaron and Maya that he's not telling anyone. I'm positive of it, and Maritza knows it too. So she and Trinity are going to talk to Miss Tillman to check up on the whole haunted Minnesota story, but we think he's hiding something over at the old amusement park, and we want to look for clues, but we can't if Earth Pro goes and digs up everything. So we need you to help convince your dad to stop running the stories Missy wants him to run, so we can finally find what we need to help Aaron and Maya. Enzo reasonably takes this terribly, and has a reasonable crash out. Since unlike Nicky, he has the actual perspective of living in Ravenbrooks, which gives him the ability to hate on Nicky for being so attached to this mystery, finally demanding him to stay away from his friends and family. Conveniently to break the tension, Missy goes up on stage to announce that Earth Pro will be taking all of the Golden Apple property, with there being 3 months before groundbreak to further discuss if the project should go into further fruition. The event is awkward, with half of the room agreeing while the other is in shame. Once Miss Yi walks off stage, and the ambience is filled with talking, Nicky decides he's had enough and disses Enzo, calling him a coward, yapping about how he does nothing to help his friends since he's too busy playing Super Mario, telling him how all the women in his life care more about his theories than Enzo's atrocious airballs in basketball. But Enzo snaps back, telling him that this is the reason why Nicky's a freak and will never have friends. Then as Nicky goes to leave, he says, "Have fun with your new friends." But Enzo responds by saying, "Have fun alone." Ooh, bro really said have fun alone. Nah, we're making it out of the episode's host with this one. So we're finally halfway through, and we're finally halfway through? Absolutely no progress has been made, even when compared to the first book. I mean, the stories are actually going somewhere and weaving into each other, and there are some good emotional thoughts about being alone forever. But these next chapters better be absolute literature for this to be an improvement from the previous book. Now over winter break, all Nicky could do is just help around the house, with Trinity and Maritza trying to call him, but are never getting any answer back. Although Jay tries to confront Nicky, as he knows exactly what's going on, this just puts more shame on our protagonist. Anyways, cue another nightmare sequence, where Nicky's grandma appears, a corridor full of locked doors, where he eventually finds his way into the abyss. He has the constant warning of wandering too far, but he feels that wandering is the only way to find Aaron and Maya. He finds his way down into the grocery store, which inhabits those same creepy mannequins, although he falls even deeper into the abyss, where Mr. Peterson says some creepy stuff over the intercom, where he once again says, "You are home." Nicky quickly wakes up. However, he accidentally knocks over a glass of water, which alerts his mother in the middle of the night. She quickly finds out that Nicky has been once again having nightmares of the same grocery store. She tells a story about Nicky's grandma, Bubba Fiend, who, if you remember, was the one who constantly told him to not wander too far. When Nicky was young, the Roths used to take care of her until her death, as she was just kind of left behind as they moved from state to state. She always thought Nicky needed more protection, since he would always wander off, even in his dreams. However, when Nicky was 3, when he was alone at the grocery store with his grandma, she left him in a back room to teach him that wandering too much will lead him lost forever. That's why the grocery store has been a recurring nightmare. When reading this heartfelt talk from Luann to Nicky, it was actually pretty heartfelt, and it made me realize that just up till now, we hadn't really been getting any of these types of scenes that actually had major emotional impact. When she leaves, Nicky notices a piece of notebook paper out of his window, just like old times. However, it's not from Aaron. This is probably the shortest chapter I've ever read, only being 3.5 pages long, so that's cool. The three meet up at the farmer's market, where Nicky eats some hella good chocolate bananas, while Trinity yaps about Miss Tillman going on vacation with the Roth's money and going to a meditation camp for some reason. She didn't spend any money on the new speakers, and she was just not useful at all. Except for the remark that there was an address book in the kitchen, which supposedly contained Aunt Lisa's phone number. So with some new break-in strategies, and a plan to expose Mr. Peterson, Trinity says, "Buckle up, Buttercup, this ride could get bumpy." Glad your parents sent you to boarding school and you went to hell, Trinity, fuck you. Trinity and Maritza are on lookout while Nicky finds a way into the house, breaking in 45 minutes before Mr. Peterson is expected to be home. Although Trinity has to quickly leave because she has to do something at the town hall, so she just fucks off. But Maritza is adamant that the break-in happens today, so the two break in. The two go across the street with Nicky lockpicking the door while Maritza stands behind as lookout. He makes it inside with a weird sound when the door opens. Eventually, he makes it to the kitchen, where he's put off by an abhorrent smell. Tracing his steps back to the living room, he investigates the basement door, before he's alerted that Mr. Peterson is pulled up. He quickly goes back into the kitchen, unable to find the book. In a last-ditch effort, Nicky decides to hide in the wardrobe, at the end of the hallway. Mr. Peterson enters his home, and already knows that he's not alone, because that weird sound when the door opened was scotch tape, meant to tear whenever a door was lockpicked. And so, he makes his way to the kitchen, empties out bloody meat, and starts cutting it while singing, "Tom, Tom, the piper's son, stole a pig and away he did run. The pig was eat, and Tom was beat, and Tom went howling down the street." Unlike the games, Mr. Peterson is not stupid, and already knows that Nicky's hiding in the wardrobe. But then, the doorbell rings. As Mr. Peterson answers the door, Nicky rushes to the address book and quickly runs into the bathroom and out of the window. It turns out Maritza paid an American parcel guy $5 to ring the doorbell.
Hello, neighbor.
However, now with the phone book, the two call Aunt Lisa and explain that they are Aaron and Maya's friend, as they wonder how they're doing in their new supposed home. But Lisa thinks them bitches tripping, so she hangs up. Nicky manages to record the whole conversation with his old recorder, and now has actual proof that Mr. Peterson was lying. Clock it, bitch. School has started back up again, and the two tell Trinity about their findings. Although a little bit shocked and concerned, Trinity still states that this is not enough evidence. But she does have a new camera that she could use to document some more shenanigans, but she won't use it because she's like scared or something. Like, okay, fuck you too. So after narrowly avoiding getting into a Science Alliance night, Nicky meets up with his friends and the camera, which took a lot of begging from Trinity. The three follow Mr. Peterson as he makes his way to the park and to the rotting core roller coaster. Trinity takes suspicious photos of Mr. Peterson digging up some scrap parts and randomly yelling at himself, eventually from the dirt pulling out a white hand. Right as Trinity accidentally turns on the flash on her camera, I've had it up to here! They quickly dip the fuck out of there and hide into a shed, where Mr. Peterson is about to catch them. But then, a llama appears. Turns out they're in the llama farm, and now Mr. Peterson has to dip out of there, allowing for the three to make it out alive. In class, Nicky notices that Enzo isn't sitting next to Seth and Ruben. Turns out he didn't make the basketball team, which I wonder why. So we get to hear more about the town apparently being very split on the whole Earth Pro dilemma, which sounds like an interesting topic to cover, but too bad we won't actually see the effects of that. In the end, the whole dilemma about Earth Pro doesn't have an effect on the characters, and as you'll eventually see, it's actually kind of a detriment to the series, but I'll discuss it in the next book whenever that comes out next decade. At the final town hall for the public vote on Earth Pro, Enzo meets up with Nicky and apologizes to Nicky for trying to distance himself from him. He reassures Nicky that he and Aaron aren't freaks, at least to Enzo. Right after that, the representatives of each side are called in, with Miss Tillman being the first to encourage anti-Earth Pro stuff. But she says some hippy-dippy baloney and sounds f***ing stupid. You know, why would you make one of the most hated people in town try to go Oreo for Oreo on Brenda Yee? Her speech, on the other hand, is actually heartfelt and competent, and is directed toward everyone in Raven Brooks, no matter their stance on the matter. After the voting, it's clear that Earth Pro will obtain the property, thus leading to Jay giving in to his boss, and the newspaper he has to write. The Roths eventually get ice cream. However, Nicky just again has to ruin the mood by offhandedly admitting that he followed Mr. Peterson to the park, which, way to go, man. This sets his parents off, where they demand that he apologizes to Mr. Peterson at their house. Oh no! The entire gang, and now including Enzo, meet up to view the photos, and they said the frame my frame, no way! They now have enough evidence to at least make a point, deciding to meet up with Mr. Esposito to present to him everything they found. At the house, they show him the audio recording of Aunt Lisa, Nicky's findings, and all of the strange photos. Surprisingly, Mr. Esposito is very patient with them, and is clearly invested in these investigations. After a good amount of time analyzing each piece of evidence, he states, "From this point forward, you kids are to stay away from Mr. Peterson. Do you understand?" He proceeds to forbid them from any interaction and any possible further investigations, warning that this is not their case to handle. It's clear that after all the evidence, along with Lucy's apple charm, he understands it now. The kids give up their evidence, then wait in the basement, get dropped off, and go to sleep. Nicky has another nightmare of the roller coaster and the mannequins, except Lucy's right next to him, handing him a completely new bracelet that isn't hers. When he wakes up, he still has the exact same bracelet in his hand. What? So I'm really conflicted about these nightmare sleepwalking things. Although I'm glad they aren't the only piece of horror in this book, I'm not sure if I like the fact that Nicky somehow does some unexplainable things like sleepwalking all the way to the theme park and back. And although the later books do step away from reality a fair amount, I don't think the sleepwalking fits for this story. But anyways, the next day, Nicky's called down to the living room, where his parents along with two officers inhabit. To our protagonist's surprise, the police are actually looking into the case, with his parents discussing that they need to protect him from the press and whatever might want him. Nicky has finally done something. People are actually believing him, and his dad has become much more supportive with the nicer conversation between the two. We even get to know that Nicky wants to become an engineer. Hopefully not like Mr. Peterson. With all that out, Nicky for once has a dreamless sleep. The next day, Nicky has a Disney Channel type of morning. The sun is bright, the birds are chirping, and waffles for breakfast. He looks back on his archives from when Aaron was still around, without feeling negative. From the audio synthesizer he made with Aaron, to the llama farm poster that he stole, which for some reason looks a little bit different now. However, the address book is missing, and he doesn't exactly remember what happened to it. And on this peaceful morning, when everything seems bright, Jay informs Nicky that they raided Mr. Peterson's house the night before. The family of the Roths, the Espositos, and the Bales meet up at the police station, where the officers state that Mr. Peterson is getting off light, as he will return the stolen property from the park. They reveal that the hand that was apparently grabbed belonged to a mannequin, and the residence is completely fine if you ignore the smell and the fact that he eats like a glutton. The last note Aaron left doesn't really have any meaning, and they state that the whole Aunt Lisa thing is probably Aaron and Maya running away from home, thus Raven Brooks can't legally do anything about it. Which is kind of stupid. They could still notify the police in the county that Aunt Lisa's in, and The phone call specifically states that it doesn't insinuate. Okay, that's kind of stupid, but point still stands. All of this was really for nothing. Mr. Peterson at most got a slap on the wrist. Aaron and Maya could be anywhere, and the rest of the evidence doesn't have any purpose. I mean, we get this really cool full-page drawing, but still. This whole book feels like it's building up to a conclusion that goes nowhere. Like, we don't get really any payoff for the whole Earth Pro debate in this book. It kind of feels like nothing too notable happened. Or does it? Nicky makes his way to the almost fully cleared out factory, with the room where the two used to watch some old VHS recordings being completely in disarray, along with the evidence of Mr. Peterson being abusive, that being the Tooth 3 recording. Don't know why he didn't take it home when he first saw it in book 1, but you know, the plot has to happen. His last ditch effort is that makeshift art room that he found earlier in the book, but when he gets there, it's all been cleared out. Aaron and Maya failed to leave a trail behind, and now they're lost forever. Right then and there, Nicky gives up. He goes to his room and almost cries to sleep, until he hears something outside. Tom, the piper's son, stole a pig and away he did run. The neighbors outside of his house, where he waves the address book, which was previously under Nicky's bed. And so, he walks back home, back to his basement, and back to the carnival music that always plays. Before we get to the next part of this video, I just want to put in a quick review of the book. So, please don't click off the video because there's still 10 minutes left and it's pretty interesting. But anyways, Waking Nightmare. This book is okay. I think overall it's on the same level as Missing Pieces. Maybe a bit higher since there's, the whole amusement park chasing and breaking and entering. Now, all the characters are pretty good, not just Nicky. I especially love Jay and his characterization. And as for Nicky himself, this being written in his first person point of view does help a lot with the imagery. However, Nicky's bullshit sleepwalking stuff isn't elaborated or even mentioned in the next book. And I'm pretty fine with that since the whole plot was kind of dumb. The art is also very good, and I specifically want to touch on this image, not just the, phone book, but this island and newspaper, which apparently Mr. Peterson was canonically stranded on for a year. This was supposed to be the original story for the spin-off game, Hello Engineer, where apparently you would play as Mr. Peterson, who would invent different machines to try to escape. However, that idea has been scrapped for many years now. Overall, I think this book is fine, with amazing character development and drama, but lacking in the overall impact and messaging that the first one had. But this has been leading up to something very big, with the next book being The Neighbor's Notebook, the official guide. Hello Neighbor. What the fuck is this? This is Hello Neighbor, The Neighbor's Notebook, the official guidebook. Releasing on June 25th of 2019, this is technically the third book instead of Buried Secrets. And I don't care that this is not official anymore, it's still really funny. Now, this follows the trend of other indie horror games, especially FNAF, where we are given information about the lore, locations, and characters, while also some extra tips on gameplay. And I also had to find some sketchy PDF of this book since I can't find an ebook of it anywhere, and each page is printed out or something. It doesn't look that good, but it's the best I could find. Alright, let's get into this very bizarre book. We are given a newspaper with the fact that Ravenbrooks is the 4th happiest town in the district. Now, there's probably only 4 towns in the district, but 4 is a cool number, so I'll let it slide. We then see Nicky's signatures from all his friends that he made along the way. Also, he's not even 5 foot. Damn, he's short as shit. It's worth mentioning that the newspapers and images in general use character stills and pictures you would find in the Hello Neighbor press kits instead of the actual illustrations, which is pretty weird, but I can't complain because sometimes they look really funny. There's also going to be a ton of misinformation, like print calling Mr. Peterson being listed as something that you could do in the actual game, which although is in the game files, was scrapped before launch. And since there's so much information, at the end of this I will mention and keep a list of all the false information present. However, it isn't all bad. There's a ton of fun facts and already established information that are laid out about Mr. Peterson and his kids. A lot is touched on here, as Mr. Peterson is haunted by the Shadow Man because of all of his losses and failures, which seem to be what had driven him insane. We also get an official timeline for the games, as of 2019. And something official like this would be really useful now, but regardless. we are shown more recreations of the newspapers with some of the funniest Photoshop. Like they either use the Unreal Engine background or just blue. There's also an investigation dissing Mr. Peterson's terrible driving, which led to his tragic car crash, along with the fact that he's banned from a toy store. Dude, these residents are just fucking haters, man. Oh yeah, and there's just some more retreaded information that we already know. But then the book goes into a timeline order of the games and investigations. Like from now on, we will first cover Hide and Seek, then Waking Nightmare, then Buried Secrets, Act 1 of the original game, Secret Neighbor, and Acts 2 to 4 of Hello Neighbor. This next part is exclusively a guidebook about hide and seek. It just kind of blows. Some of the labels on where to find things are like, this is next to a big bush, or it's go to this cabinet, then go here, then this, then jump from the roof of this to the roof of this, then do this, and then you have to go into the mine. Then you have to play the craziest Hello Neighbor mods. Then you have to interview Nikita, who will reveal a secret video.
I don't know if you knew this, but I have a crippling gambling addiction, and now I don't have any money. I'm also homeless.
It's just wrong. Incorrect locations and misleading steps are just shoved onto you, and you have to deal with it if you don't know how to beat the game already. Like at points they just make stuff up. There is no bear plushie, there are no big bushes, there is no way to climb these boxes, there are no bags hidden under the benches, and there is no Diane Peterson. In the middle of this frustrating guide, we are given this extremely sad note that Mr. Peterson wrote, trying to explain to his kids how their mom died in the kindest way possible. Kids, I have something important to... Something's happened. This is not good news. Kids, your mother is gone. This section explains the tragedy and foreshadows the insanity of the neighbor. But who cares about that when there's more misinformation? What does this even mean? It just horribly explains the steps and leaves out crucial information about like the pipes and other stuff. It completely misinterprets gags like the man's brain growing bigger as the TV turns off as he stops watching TV and reads a book instead. This book would have greatly benefited if it came with an accurate map that showed the positions of each dolls or collectibles, or at least any visuals from the game to at least understand what is going on. And trust me, there's a big reason for the amount of inaccuracies, which I will touch on in the end. This chapter just kind of recaps Nicky's investigations of the neighbor during the events of Waking Nightmare. We get some details about his nightmares, which are documented because the counselor thinks that it will help him stop. Another thing mentioned, things being documented include him stealing the phone book from Mr. Peterson's home, a ton of notes, amazing Photoshop, a few documents, and additional facts about Mr. Peterson's antics are shown off, which is pretty fun to learn about. But these images kind of suck. Like this one. Why did they use a 2D drawing of Mr. Peterson with a 3D model of Aaron? Why was there a whole in-universe news story about Aaron and Maya? Why is there a Ravenbrooks forum solely on Mr. Peterson? What? In the forums, the town is theorizing about Mr. Peterson like their map hat with these stupid usernames and even stupider theories. Hold up, let's just make a whole section about these because I'm really interested in them. Ravenbrooks concerned resident wrote,
Theodore Masters Peterson is no stranger to the news these days. We, the people of Ravenbrooks, deserve answers, do we not? Please write down what you think is happening with Mr. Peterson below. Maybe we can come to the bottom of this case before it's too late and he takes over our town.
Neighborhood Gal 101, member since February 1995, 46 posts.
Has anyone else noticed the creepy mannequins that guy has? Ew. I don't live close to that man, but my dog walker does take my precious Marshmallow there from time to time. Apparently, one of the mannequins came to life and jumped at her. For real. Mr. Peterson's long been known in the town as a pariah. A creepy dude. I think those aren't mannequins at all. See, I think those are the souls of his departed family members. And after his dearly departed wife kicked the bucket, he probably snapped and decided to preserve his family forever as faceless, legless automatons with a voodoo magic. Ooh.
Now, besides the, voodoo, I actually do think this makes a lot of sense, and I think would even become canon, especially in Search and Rescue, which, that's pretty cool. Mr. Peterson theory, dude. Member since January 1996, 10 posts.
For another twisted take, maybe Peterson has more than one identity. Maybe he has an evil twin. And actually, this is the evil twin. It makes sense, actually. Think about it. What if there are not one, but two Mr. Petersons running around Ravenbrooks? P.S. See my other theories about Y2K in my profile.
Wait, hold on. Y2K. Well, in 2024, they made a movie about Y2K, and it was pretty However, near the end, Fred Durst appears. The same person who voices Quentin Myers in the Hello Neighbor Welcome to Ravenbrooks TV show. It all connects. Mr. Peterson theory dude, oh my god, he was right. He was right. Guest, 0 post.
Or how about this? When we first met Mr. Peterson, he could be seen wearing shoes with the ominous number 666 on their soles. These days, he switched up to a mysterious mark of the letter M. But is it all a cover-up? Could the evil driving the neighbor be a bit of an underworld devilry, so insidious that even he doesn't realize who's pulling his strings?
This one I actually do think is interesting. I mean, for one, guests, you know, it's probably a coincidence, but also this is something that actually did happen in development, where the 666 on the sole of his shoe did change the letter M. Now, personally, I think this is because, you know, they were moving away from this satanic Mr. Peterson is the devil thing, but that is interesting, and it's not really explained, so I guess, fucking, I don't know. However, now it's time, where we finally get into the main part of this book, the Hello Neighbor Guide. It's not very good. You know, first of all, this book just spoils everything, even some of the nightmare sequences, and it's not even a good guide. They literally used the prototype house layout for Act 1. How does this even happen? And not even the prototype house from the trailer, but the very original one with the basement door being more to the corner. How do you mess this up? And they also use the same layout to represent both the first and second floor. What? The tips themselves just boil down to go in the wardrobe, hit the neighbor, run away. Like, I will admit the Photoshop is pretty good, but the rest just feels so lazy. It just tells you word for word how to beat the game, even though a YouTube video tutorial is right there to explain all this better. Now, thankfully, the map for the basement is mostly consistent, minus a couple rooms, and the rest is straightforward, with the chapter ending in this funny image. Look, I like how this guide tries and succeeds sometimes with helping the players, especially for showing off both ways to get the red key, but just watch a YouTube video. The writing is not the best, and a lot of the visuals just don't really help. In an interesting turn of events, we next have this short chapter about Secret Neighbor, which at the time of publishing was not out yet, with only a few closed alphas to go off of. And on top of the fact that this book was written way before its publishing date, it's actually pretty shocking that they even covered this game. The main thing revealed here are Enzo, Maritza, and Trinity, along with some of their new friends to go back to rescue Nicky from the neighbor's house. Along with this being their, at the time, canon designs. Basically their concept art, which presumably were based off the books. I really like how we get a bit more information on the crew ever since Nicky went missing. Something we'll probably never see again, since spoiler, but we don't really know how Nicky's friends react after he goes missing. You didn't hear that, I said spoiler. Enzo is now fully committed to breaking into Mr. Peterson's house, now that his friend is missing. Maritza is willing to fight back against the neighbor's wrath, and Trinity is stepping up as the group leader, along with a weird question about the group's strength if she goes missing. The advice given, although simple, is pretty alright for new players. It actually isn't bad, given that this was made nearly 4 months before the full release of the game. We then get a tutorial on Act 2, and it's just kind of the same thing as before, as it describes literally everything in excruciating detail, but poorly. However, I do think that this section is a bit better. For starters, it explains the nightmare sequences clearly, which was a mystery that the fandom had trouble figuring out for the longest time. I also think the imagery is better, with actual pictures of key locations, along with a fine enough description. All the paths are well enough labeled, except for the trampoline. You see, normally you need to activate this generator by pulling all the valves and turning this so that this gate opens up. However, this guide decides to be just funny and instead instructs you to stack boxes on the edge and jump over the gate. And not only is this a bug, but this is also an old strategy speedrunners used to use for this game. It even mentions how janky the physics and movements are, warning the readers to be careful. Okay. I mean, the author clearly did their research this one time. and it was supposed to go against the developer's intent. Okay. We learn that Nicky has been unable to truly grow up from the trauma he faced as a kid, and with his curiosity and him being unable to keep up the bills, he travels back to his hometown and his childhood home. And you know the rest, he goes to sleep and now it's Act 3. And this section's worse than hide and seek. So it poorly describes activating this ladder, climbing up it, and just expecting you to know how to get from here all the way to here with no visuals or even a well thought out description. The rest of the section is just some of the most jumbled, confusing, unhelping writing that completely discombobulated my brain on top of playing this stupid game. Some information is also just wrong. And if it isn't wrong, it probably isn't even in the book, since a lot of shit is skipped out on. As most likely, the writer just watched the gaming world's the Hello Neighbor walkthrough, and most of these tutorials, along with this guidebook, use unintentional cheats and shortcuts that cut out hours of gameplay. The main culprit is the red key section, where usually you have to collect all the mannequins and all the cakes, which takes a hell of a long time. But instead of trying to describe all that, the author just said, throw a shoe at the lever and you're good. It kind of astonishes me that this was actually officially put out, and that this was not caught in editing. The fear rooms are vaguely described, the steps to unlock the basement are vaguely described, the basement is vaguely described, the boss fight is vaguely described. This shit sucks complete ass. The only somewhat interesting thing is that this shadow dude is canonically called The Thing, which I assume is probably a reference to The Thing and the poster. Yeah, I love that movie, but you know, but anyways, this is not good. Look, this book was a great idea, since many people were struggling to beat this game, but in actuality, this officially released product only makes the games more confusing, because all this book does is just say some bullshit, without showing anything to help guide you, besides a random image. Like I've been saying, this should have come with an accurate map or at least anything. You know what, whatever, the book is over, as it ends with this line. But what really became of Mr. Peterson and his family? Well, no one knows for certain, but the future is being written right now by you. Fuck, there's more! So the next page reveals an upcoming game where you are put into the shoes of Mr. Peterson, and you will be designing your own house in a quote-unquote dynamic constructor game. You know, that's actually a really good concept, but nothing like that has officially released. I mean, you do have the Secret Neighbor level editor, but that was like being handled by a completely different team. From the first time I read this page till now, this section has confused me for a while. But after doing a small bit of research, I think I know what this forgotten game was. And it was the mod kit. So at the end of 2019, a few months after the release of this book, the Hello Neighbor mod pack was released exclusively on the Epic Games Store. It was basically a modified version of the Unreal Engine 4 with the basic models and code from Hello Neighbor, allowing users to immediately start making Hello Neighbor fan content with the Unreal Engine's tools. Now, this isn't really a game, but I think at one point it was. Now, keep in mind that this book was written a long time ago, at a time when Hide and Seek was still planned to be a DLC. So even before or during summer 2019, it was most likely that this mod kit was supposed to be its own game. However, the project was most likely severely downgraded, possibly due to other projects like Hello Neighbor 2 and Hello Guest. But who knows. After this, skip a page with just some generic screenshots, with some of them not even being from the full release of the game, and then we get to the final page. You know, no author biography or anything. Basically, it just talks about how the series is not going anywhere. What truly happened to Aaron Peterson? It seems clear that Nicky's lost friend was trapped by his father, but was Aaron truly the bad omen his dad always feared he was? And did he make it out? Moreover, what happened to Nicky? After he escaped the neighbor's house, did his investigations end? Was his reappearance a galvanizing experience for Raven Brooks? Or did Mr. Peterson escape blame once again? And when exactly did Act 3 take place in Nicky's life? If at all. Whatever the answers, in the world of Hello Neighbor, there is no true escape from evil. There is no final goodbye. Alright, here's a short list of inconsistencies and just false information from the book. The neighbor could never answer the cell phone. Hide and Seek was referred to as DLC, mainly because this book was being written when Hide and Seek was early in development, as it was originally being planned to be DLC for Hello Neighbor. The claim that the Golden Apple Factory has a bunch of rides and a bunch of entertainment was disproven in the Aaron trilogy. There was no bear plush. Some of the plushies have incorrect locations labeled. You can't climb up these boxes. There's no money under benches, nor in shelves. You don't fill the squirter up with the old bathtub. You can't break this TV. Instead, you have to turn it off. You can't just bust through the zombies with standard items. This is the prototype house being used to describe the Act 1 house. The lockpick does not work on the bedroom door because there is no lock to be picked. You can't get electroshocked by this fence. The entire secret neighbor section is using images from the alphas. This is not the only room where you can change the temperature. You are not supposed to get over this gate like that. It instructs you to use a very popular glitch. The book calls the trolley a roller coaster. You can't duck and dodge the mannequins because they are way faster than you. It does not say how to get the guitar in any way, and this game teased was never released. So all in all, this is a terrible book. It has nothing to help you beat the games, instead misguiding you because the book was outdated on day 1 of release. It barely gives you any new information, even if it does attempt to clear up a few things. The Photoshop is either hit or miss, and I honestly don't even blame anyone who worked on this book. It's most likely like Tiny Build or Scholastic's fault, since both companies' quality control is kind of whack. Also, I find it weird that we never got an updated guide. Besides the novelty of it, don't pick this up. Just watch a YouTube tutorial. Wow, way to end this video. Okay. Look, I'm sorry that this video took so long to come out. However, I'm much happier with how this video came out. But anyways, stay tuned for when I cover Buried Secrets. Hopefully, coming very soon. Like, subscribe, consider subscribing to my Patreon, and have a great day. I'll see you soon.